Carlos Nelson with Cascade Sports. And tonight, I always be talking this stuff about we got special guests. No, we really got a special guest tonight. He is one of my classmates. His mother was my dance teacher and gym teacher at Central State University when I went there back in the 70s. And Curtis was right up under me when he came out, but he went to work for ESPN, went to work for BT, and has a whole lot of experience in the media business. And as I always say with all my guests, let's go back to kindergarten. Welcome, Curtis, to the show.
Carlos, it's always a pleasure, man. I love to be on Cascade Sports. You always do a good job, man. It's been your dream for many years, man, to bring people's stories to life, and you've done a tremendous
But I
amount of
got it
work
from
over the
you,
years,
bro. I got it
man.
from for
I'm glad,
real.
I'm glad
Nah,
to hear
nah,
it.
for real. Because I remember back in the early '80s when you would come to Kansas City. I really didn't know what
Yeah,
the hell you was doing. I didn't even know how you grew so large per se, and you were going to the NAIA tournaments back then.
yeah,
I didn't know
yeah.
nothing about BET and none of that. A lot of black people didn't know nothing about BET back then.
Right.
And once I start seeing what you was doing after I got out of construction, and that's when BET basically was breaking up, and you were trying to get cable. That got me
Hmm.
interested in doing internet because internet was new at that point.
Right.
So
Right.
uh, I'd like for you to go back to kindergarten, and I'm gonna shut the hell up and let you tell this story of a black man and his success and failures and trials and tribulations in this journey.
I mean, I think that, when I go back to my early days, man, one of the things that was I just found some information on the other day. Uh, we both went to Central State University, and one of the things that Central State did in the early days that was way ahead of their time is they put an elementary school on the campus, right there on the campus, which is now the Cosby Center, Telecommunications Center. And it was K through six. It was an unbelievable experience because we had some of the best black teachers that I had ever experienced growing up with. They took you. It was almost like going to an HBCU as a young person, because the majority of people around you were your color. Majority of people around you you knew, and the teachers really knew you or your parents, and it really strived on getting the best out of you. When I look at a lot of the kids that grew up in Wilberforce with me, a lot of their parents were teachers, educated like my mother was at Central. Man, the background was unbelievable, and those days I cherish very hard because people don't realize just the wealth of knowledge that was at on the campuses between Central State and Wilberforce University. It was a tremendous amount of knowledge, and that was back in the day too. Well, I think has gone away tremendously in the era of the new age of the campuses where teachers cared more. They were all about making sure you were successful. They weren't about trying to kick you out of school. They were trying to keep you in school. And they did everything they could to nurture your mentality, understand what it took to grow in that community. And for me, watching my mother work at Central State University, teaching for 40 years, and then having the opportunity to be taught by her in a classroom and see it in live action instead of hearing it from other people, how what she did, how she talked to people, how she got people motivated, how she stayed on you, how she nurtured you in a way that made you understand the value of who you were. It really took me to heart because I really knew that my mother and my father were special, because at Central State University, a small HBCU in a small town of Wilberforce, Ohio, with just a little bit over 2,000 students, you knew everybody. And at that point in time, when we were growing up in that area, everything was right there on the campus, from the general store to the barbershop to Mall Beatty's to laundromat. Everything was right there. You didn't have to go to Xenia. And that was kind of the beauty, in my opinion, for someone coming in from a Chicago or New York. to experience being in the weeds, but really a town built already for you. So you didn't have to go that far to find out exactly who you were and what you were all about because it was already there in place. And I think that as I grew up from K-6 and going through Cook Elementary, the tutelage I had was unbelievable. And then when I went to middle school to Tecumseh Elementary School in Xenia, Ohio, I had a chance to really change my environment because I went from predominantly black elementary school to a middle school that was really more of color and different people that didn't look like me anymore. But it was also a way that I nurtured and took advantage of to basically understand more about who I was. And I grew up with a lot of good friends in the area, still are, that are still alive, and took me to a lot of places. And then from there, I went to high school, Xenia High School in Xenia, Ohio, and that's probably was a big education for me because the school was very good. A lot of good friends I had there. I was a decent student. I wasn't, one that was going to stand out. I probably could have been better, but I didn't work hard at it like I should. I was a jokester. I was always running my mouth and trying to figure out ways to get around things and everything. And I'll never forget a teacher telling me in high school, like, Curtis, you got a lot of potential, man, but I don't know if you ever going to work hard enough to get there. And I guess that rock hit me one day, and I said to myself, I got to grow up, man. I've been acting like a kid for too long. It's time for me to really take this thing to another level. So my goal was to get out of school. I had no idea what I wanted to do in college. One of the things I did want to do is play basketball. And when I was coming up in high school, was a good friend of mine who's like a brother to me now, Roger Carter, was a really good basketball player at Xenia High School. And I kind of idolized him. I wasn't as good as him, but I idolized him to the point where, I wanted to be as good as he was, and so he helped me get better over the years, but I was always the last guy cut every year up to my junior year. And I knew it was a political game, and that was my first experience of white America just saying, look, black boy, you're not gonna get there, So I remember telling the high school coach after he cut me my junior year, I said, look, man, I'm not coming back and trying out for the senior year because I'm gonna work my tail off and I'm gonna play college basketball with or without you. And that's when I put in my mind, Los, where that was probably the biggest thing that made me strive over the years, always having a chip on my shoulder because I worked my tail off. I got better. I started going to some camps, basketball camp, and college coaches saying, I can't believe you're not playing high school basketball. I'm like, no, I don't. And so I graduated from Xenia. I wanted to leave the area because I had grown up in the area. And I think anybody, when you grow up in a small town, you want to get a different environment, even though Central State was HBCU. I didn't really understand it as strong as I should have coming out of high school. I was more focused on playing basketball. So I followed a friend of mine who his father also taught at Central State University, Dr. Johnson, and his name was Ron Johnson, my partner. And he went for a recruitment to a small school in Indiana called St. Joseph College in Indiana. And so I went along with him for the ride, just really for the ride. We were just close. But I wanted to play. And so they were chasing him. He was 6'7". They would basically, blowing everything at him about how good he was, about they needed him over here. And about the end of the conversation he was having with Ron, I turned to the coach and said, look, man, I think I go walk on and play here. He said, you got your stuff in the car? I said, yeah. He said, well, we're getting ready to have some workouts. Why don't you put your stuff on and have you play against our guys? So I went and got my stuff out the car, came in the gym, got strapped up. They put me on the floor, and I went to work. And I went to work, and to the point, I didn't really realize this until we had a reunion with a lot of guys that played at St. Joe. And the assistant coach at the time was a grad coach, Mark Mutispaul, who also went to school in Xenia, but he played at St. Joe too. And he was telling me when we having this reunion, he said, man, we were sitting in the stands and we just could not believe how good you were. And we kept saying to ourselves, this cat didn't play high school basketball. So the coach came down and said to me, he said, hey man, apply to school. And if you get in, I'm gonna give you a trial. So I applied to school. I got accepted. And so I come to school in August, late August, and I was running late because my sister Diana Carlos knows very well, ran track with him at Central State. It was her graduation. So I missed freshman orientation. So I got there right when school just started. And, we started to get the workouts and all the stuff. And it's a Catholic college, and I'm trying to, get my groove on because, I will never forget the first day that I was there. They had a little thing for the freshmen. And the president of the school comes out, talks to the freshman. He says, "Well, I'm really glad about this freshman class. It got an average GPA at 3.5." And I'm looking around in the room like, I didn't have no 3.5. I might have had a 2.6, 2.5, 2.6 at the most. I'm like, damn, these people this smart. I thought I was way out of class. But then it's like anything else, man. You find out you can do the work if you put your mind to it. So my first semester after trying out, I come in and it's October. We're getting ready for practice. And they have all the walk on. Oh, we were mixed in rather. Walk on scholarship guys all the whole 9 years. 40 guys. And all these guys are telling me how they all stayed, all this, all that. We get on that court, man, and I'm like going against them like, what school did you play for? How are you all state and all that? And so coach started ticking the numbers down. He took it from like 40 to 30, 30 to 20, 30 to 20, 20 down to 10. And then he took it down to 5, and I was one of the 5 left, as a walk-off. And these guys still, some of them were getting scholarship money too. And I ended up, that was back in, I'm dating myself. This was the old days. This is when they had in college JV and varsity teams. So I made the JV team. And I was proud of that because, as a walk-on, I made JV team. I'm starting on the JV team, which I was really proud of. So we start to practice, and I'm having a pretty good start. The season starts up, I'm doing pretty good. Come home from Christmas, and my partner, Ron, who they recruited, had mono. So he got knocked out. So I'm at home on Christmas Day. I'll never forget this, Lowe's. This was kind of the world that changed my day. And my coach called me and says, listen, man, we're moving you up to varsity. We need you up here tomorrow. And it's Christmas Day. I'm like, what? Yeah, we're moving on. You need to be on campus. We're going to practice at 6 p.m. You need to be here, for practice. So I got my mom together, and she drove me back up there, walking in the gym. Everybody's kind of staring at me. Next thing I know, they talking about I'm starting. I'm like, what? I said, I'm a guy who just walked on, man. You just starting on varsity. My first varsity game, I'll never forget it. Division II school played Division I school play at Northwestern out of Evanston, Illinois. And they had a senior guard, and he knew I was a freshman. And he went to work. I mean, I was like in shock because I had never experienced like that. So I mean, I think he dropped 22 or 24 that night, and he was talking to me the whole night. Hey, freshman, you can't hold it, bang. Freshman, I'm gonna do this to you, that bang. I'm like, oh my God. Then we left there and we played another non-conference game against, Bush Lee and Marquette. And that's the year they won in the Bo Ellison. That's when they won the national championship. And I'm going against them. And I'm like, man, what are we doing out here? Division II school playing this kind of school, Division I school. And they beat us by like 40, and Bush put on a show. I had to guard Bush the whole game, put on a show, clear the show. So finally, the last non-conference game we had was against Purdue, Big Ten. And we'll go down here, and I'm in the gym. I'd never been in this kind of gym before in my career. I'm bouncing the ball, and every time you bounce the ball, you hear this ping. That's the one of the Purdue players. I said, what's that noise? He said, man, that's the sound of the basketball when you're dribbling it. I said, what? And I said, man, we went in there, and that for that game, that was probably my best game as a freshman. I scored 22 points that night. And I will never forget that. That was a highlight of my career. And we went on my freshman year to be, we got in the Final Four Division II that year and lost in the semis. And that gave me a lot of confidence. And I came back my sophomore year and had a really good beginning of sophomore year and finished up strong. And then my coach had built a nice record in D2, and you get a chance to go D1, you take it. So he got picked up by Bowling Green out of Ohio. So he left after my sophomore year. And I was like, man, I'm paying full rent at St. John. I'm like, I don't need to be paying this. I need to go home and go to the state and get a free education and just finish out my career there. So came down to Central State, walked on and made a team in my junior year. Had to sit out first part of the year because I was a transfer, the old transfer rules. And then I came on and played and got some decent playing time under Dr. Williams. And then I went my senior year and I started out, got about halfway through the season. Then I just realized my career wasn't basketball. You know, now it's time to make money. I'm a senior now, and I'm not going to the NBA. So I just told Dr. Williams, I said, look, man, I'm throwing the towel in and start working on my career and try to get. And that's when I guess started realizing that it's time to go up. I started trying to put it in perspective and stuff. So here I am in senior high. I'm trying to figure out what my next step was. And I luckily stumbled up on a marketing job running a sporting goods store in Beaver Creek, Ohio, called Paxton's. And so it was a dream job for me because I love sports. I'm selling gym shoes and everything. So, you know, I was in heaven. But little did I know it was family run. So when I graduated, I had told the owner that I was interested in staying around. You could make me a manager, full-time manager, blah, 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 which he did. And then I was there for about 4 months and didn't realize that the wife was the one with really the money. So she ended up closing the shop down. And I was out there fishing. So then I stumbled, we came back to Central State one day and we have these career days. You know, Carlos could tell you about those one day. But it's where all the companies in the area come in and offer up jobs for graduating seniors. So I said, look, let me throw my hat in and see. So a friend of mine was working at State Farm Insurance and said, hey, you should think about being a management trainee. I said, yeah. So I filled out the form. They called me back about a week later and said, listen, why don't you come out here to Columbus, Newark, Ohio? We'd like to interview, blah, blah, blah. Went out there and the interview went great. Next thing I know, they told me I was in the management training program. And so I moved to Columbus after I was at Central and started out. I was in the program for about 4 months. And then I got opportunity to move back down to Dayton as a claims adjuster, still in the training program. And it was a bad experience with insurance because I will never forget this day in my life. You know, a lot of people don't understand insurance, and especially when you got to talk to the elderly folks because they really don't understand it. So it was a bad rain during the week, real bad rain, it was torrential rains. And this elderly lady had her basement flooded. So I had to come in as a claim adjuster. I'm looking at it, trying to figure out, you know, what needed to be happening, what I needed to do, blah, blah, blah. Call the agent, come to find out he never sold the elderly lady, you know, flood insurance. So now I got to go back and tell this lady with all her whole basement damaged. She was paying her bill, never had a claim in her career. Elderly, like looking at your grandmother and telling them that there's nothing you can do. And she's sitting there crying in front of you, talking about, I've never had a claim before. How can they do this to me? And I had no answers. So I was like, you know what? This is not the business I want to be in. So I quit the job the next day. You know, I said I just didn't want to. So then I was trying to figure out, well, what could be my next step? So I laid around for about a week, 2 weeks, and a friend of mine who lived in Columbus, I was still living in Columbus, but going back and forth to Dayton, said, hey man, you should get in and laying underground cable. It's a good way to make some fast money. You know, you're digging ditches, throwing the cable. That's when the cable was just breaking loose in the late 70s. So I got into it. And it was definitely some great money, great summer money. I made a nice little piece of money for my age at the time. So then it ended, the contract ended. I said, well, listen, I want to come back to Xenia and teach. So I came back home, put in, started out substitute teaching. And I was with my old principal one day, and I said, man, you know, I laying this underground cable, and I really want to get in the cable business. He said, well, the lady that runs it, her name is Janine Kozak. Well, this is where you learn in the world where the network falls in place. Because everything you do in life is a small world. You think it's big, but it's a small world. Janine Kozak was my Cub Scout teacher. So I literally ran her down on the street one day and said, listen, Janine, give me a shot. She said, well, I need Curtis. I need somebody who knows some finance. You got to know how to run. No, I said, look, I did some of that managing the sporting goods too. Just give me a shot, which she did. And that was really, Carlos, how my career started in the media business. Because underneath Janine, it was Continental Cablevision at the time. I learned a lot about the cable industry because she was a great teacher.
Let
And
me
she taught
interrupt
me
you
everything.
for a minute because
Yeah.
I had similar experience. I had I was in construction, and I had
Construction, right?
and when cable came to Kansas City, I had
Right.
a contract to install cable
Oh,
also.
right. Yeah, I
And
remember
I
that.
want to
Right.
know how you jumped from that. I never seen nothing about participating, how you got into the media. That never even came into.
I mean, I everything I did was a luck shot. Was a luck shot. You know, I mean, the thing I wanted to do first was learn how to build a cable system. So a position came and it couldn't, and all the chips fell in the right way. I mean, it was like no one could ever predict the guy who grew up in Wilberforce, Ohio, now runs the cable system in Xenia, Ohio, and it's like 2 miles apart. And you know everybody.
Timing
I
is
mean, no, timing is the key. And so, but you also learn that, I was the youngest general manager in the company. At 23 years old, I was managing Cotton Kevin in Xenia, Ohio. The experience was unbelievable. And it came in a time when, as you know, being on the construction side, we were rebuilding the system. So we were tearing the system down and taking it from like 12 channels now up to 75 channels, you know. And so learning how to, map quests, learning how to climb poles, learning how to do installs, that's what I wanted to do. So I learned from the ground up, from the head end all the way out to the field, how to build the system. I could build a system today if I was given the opportunity to. Okay. So I learned not only how to build a system, but also learned the behind the scenes to like how to do payments, how to do non-pays, the whole 9 yards. So I had my mind equipped on how. So I did that for like 2 years. And once I built the system, I said, well, I didn't see myself living in Xenia, Ohio for life, because it just wasn't me. I just knew I needed to take a jump. And so when the programming guys would come in and sell me on carrying the channel on my cable system, I would always tell all of them individually, hey man, something come open, because majority of them, they were regional. So the majority were living in Chicago. I said, so anything come open, let me know. I'm interested in being on the programming side. So a position came open with a new company called Satellite News, which was the mirror of CNN News at the time. And that's when Ted was hot with CNN News. Satellite News was owned by Group W and General Electric. So they had a regional office in Chicago. Buddy of mine told me about it. I came out, did a couple interviews, got the job. Took my wife and my sons, and we moved to Chicago with Satellite News Channel. So I'm on the job, grinding for about 4 months. I'll never forget this day. I was going to see a cable operator in Iowa, a little podunk nowhere in Iowa. Walk in the door, country boy, he's got his feet up on the desk reading, New York Times, and he's like, Wall Street Journal rather, and he's like, Curtis, you read the Wall Street today? I said, no. He said, hey, man, you might want to call your office. Your company got sold. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, your company. I said, he said, here it is. So he showed me the paper. Sure enough, I called the office and said, hey, man, I'm reading. No, Curtis, get on the next plane home, man, and have your keys ready because they're actually about to turn everything in. So I get home, Go to the office the next day. Everybody's in there sobbing, giving up keys to turn and bought the company out. So I'm in a little, I'm in a trauma, you know, because here I am. I moved my family. I could stay down in Xenia High and be comfortable for life. You know, I had everything down there, everything.
I
Cost of
know.
living, you know, making good money, you know,
Know
looking like the king.
everybody
Oh,
know
everybody.
you.
I did that. So my wife, fortunately, I had gotten her a job with Continental Cable in Chicago, who I worked for in Xenia. So she was holding down the ground. Luckily for me, as you just said, the Diamond Falls, another friend of mine contacted me from ESPN. Said, listen, man, we got a regional office at ESPN. You should go try for this job called local ad sales. I said, what is local ad sales? He said, this is where you're selling advertising, teaching the cable operators how to sell advertising that they can market on a network. Because every network has 2 minutes an hour for local advertising. I said, shit, that can't be hard. So I go to ESPN, I get the job. So now I start out as local ad sales consultant. I'm running around the cable operators get all over the country, all over the Midwest rather, and showing them how to sell local advertising. And in about a year, I get bumped up to running the office. Now I become the district manager. Now I'm running the office. And that's when I started really beginning to start climbing in the business. Because my thing then
What year
was
with the was this?
this would have been I ended up getting started at ESPN at 81. I went from 81 to 88. Um, and this is when I began to start climbing up the ladder, getting more exposure. You know, because my whole thing then was how can I build the Curtis Symonds brand in this business? Because there wasn't a lot of people that looked like us in the business. So I knew there was some way that I could position myself to grow. So I was making a lot of good moves. I was getting on a lot of boards. I was getting on panels to speak. And I was getting good recognition. And then people starting to figure out who is Curtis Symonds. So that went from like 81 to 88. And then the eye opener for me was in 88, early in 88, probably around the January time of 88, a VP slot came open at ESPN. So I went for it along with my partner, George Bodenheimer, who was in Denver at the time. He went for it. So we both were in the running for the job. And both of us had good track records. But, you know, it's the game. You know, they're going to put a white boy in there in front of me. So at that point, I wasn't really paying that much attention to it until we always covered the Hula Bowl for ESPN. And so one of the guys called me one day and said, yo, man, you know, George is going to the Hula Bowl. Are you going? I said, what? Yeah, he's going out there with the big boys to the Hula Bowl. So I called my guy who was a supervisor and said, Roger, I just got a clip here that George is going to the Pro Bowl. And I'm like, oh, why not? Oh, well, you know, George has affiliates out there that come in for such. So we asked him to come out. Like, you're good, blah, blah, blah. Well, that was the icing on the cake. So they gave George the VP slot, and I had to now report to him. Well, we both knew that wasn't going to last too long because we were equal. And when you put one up against the other, that ain't going to last. It's not a good mixture. It's not a good mixture. So it started out decent. And then it got to the point where it wasn't feeling good no more. And I knew I needed to try to make a move. So just out of the air one day, I had always talked with Bob Johnson from BET. Because we would be the only blacks out there at conventions and everything. So we always had some dialogue. But he called me one day out the blue and said, and Bob was very slick. He said, hey, Curtis, look, man, I'm looking for somebody to run all my affiliate marketing out of DC. But I know I can't afford you. But if you know anybody, let me know. But I came home that night and I was talking to my wife, Pat. I said, you know what? I've hit the wall at ESPN. I should go talk to Bob Johnson about this job. And then I called a few friends of mine in the business who were losing their mind when I was talking about going to work for BT. Because at that time, BT was on the dying vine. It was where at 88 BT was
When
just
did
about
they
ready to
start
fold.
BT? Do you know
80,
80?
1980, January 1980.
And they had been in business how many years? 9 years?
8 years when I came on board.
8.
8 years. Yeah. But he hadn't moved the needle much at all. You know, he had like 18 million subscribers, but a lot of that was, you know, because BT was more of an urban channel. A lot of that was part-time coverage in like LA, New York, Chicago, all the big cities. So my thinking was, look, I could go work for this guy. And I was like 32 years old, I said, and become an EVP. And how many blacks you know in this business are EVPs? Not a many. So, you know, I heard all the horror stories about Bob, and he was a micromanaged. He was a control freak. He was this, he was that. So I threw them all on the table. I said, listen, man, here's what I'm hearing about you. You know, they tell me you're like this, and this. And he's like, no, Curtis, I don't know who's telling. I said, well, here's my deal. If you want me to be successful, let me do my thing. I don't need nobody to work on my shoulder. I'll grind for you, but you don't have to look on my shoulder to get it done. So he's like, no. He said, what you want to do it, and he gave me the best line that I've ever had in my career. He said, think of your department as your own company. You're the president of that company. So it's your job to drive the business. Because I'm coming to you if anything screws up. That's the best tutelage I ever had. And that's the way I looked at it when I came on board. So I came on board in 88, and we were barely surviving. You know, we were in survival mode to the point where when you get that Friday check, you get to call it. You call the accountant and say, "Hey, can I go to the bank today? Because yeah, you good, because we never knew. You know, we were big ball stealing with money at that time. But, you know, I was fortunate in 14 years at BT with Bob Johnson to have one of the greatest experiences in life. Because one thing Bob did for me is that he taught me, how to be a better businessman, because I watched him and how he maneuvered and how he made things happen for BT. And he also made me understand the power of who I was, which I still am working on. That's work in progress, because one thing I've always done, and my wife has gotten on to me a lot, is that I've underestimated the value of who I am, you know, and I carry a pretty big stick, but I never played the stick the way I should have played it. You know, I always looked at it like, you know, I wasn't an equal with Bob, and I was equal with Bob at the end of the day, you know, because he had more zeros by his name than I did, you know. But it taught me also to learn the game because Bob was brilliant at it, and I followed his footsteps. Relationships, building relationships in this business. I mean, I had a relationship with Ted Turner. I remember Ted Turner when I was a young guy, that I would sit on a board with him before it was all over. And I did sit on 2 or 3 with him. And he was a sharp kid. He was a sharp cookie, you know, because Ted was all about speaking his mind. But he respected you if you said you spoke your mind and you clarified why you think you was. He respected the shit out of you for that. That's one thing I get hats off to him for that thinking. But that was a great run for me for 14 years, because we really took that. No one will ever be able to repeat what we built early on at BT in the 80s and into the mid 90s. I mean, that was a Harvard story all the way of building a black company, because Bob did it right. Bob did it right. And he really grew the business to it. And that's why when people say to me now and ask me, well, why did he sell it? I said, let me ask you a question, a real question to you as a business person. If you've been working on the job for 20 years and somebody comes to you and offers you $3 billion for your company, not 3,000, not 300, 3 billion, well, you're set for life. You think you're not going to look at that? I don't know anybody in the world that would.
You know, well, we can. But he was lucky because timing was everything. And MTV and all of them was fading fast. once y'all start getting traction with BET?
Well, but you got to always remember the one thing that I saw from Bob, and I see it now just on HBCU network, is that when you got a black product moving and shaking, the white folks want to get in because they won't understand how you did it. They want to understand how you did it. You know, they're watching. You know, you never could ever be bypassed because once it gets out there that you got something that's moving, they want to know how did you make it move. So they paying attention.
You know,
And
I never
so
knew that you were in marketing. I've known you all this time. I never knew that's what your expertise was. Or
yeah,
I am sure would have been really flying up to that damn DC and kidnapping your ass. Hold it. How you have explained this little 1/3 of your life from a business standpoint, all of
yeah.
the experience that you learned on to how to market to cable, how to do this and how to do that. Those are things that my company really still, and I've been in business since '08.
Yeah.
And one of the key factors that my mentorees that I mentor, you put it really succinctly and with clarity. Who you know is your currency in life, and
That,
in
that, that,
business for
that's
sure.
that's the I try to emphasize to anybody who's around me. People get always used to be amazed. I could pick up the phone and call this person, that person, this person, and they answer my phone. And it's like, hey, Curtis, what you doing? What's up? You can't. There's nothing better than your network, man. And like I tell people all the time, people ask me all the time, man, how did you become so good of a salesperson? I said, look, salespeople aren't created. What makes a salesperson great is a small word called trust. The minute someone trusts you, you can do anything and believe in you. It changes the whole aura of your communication. Hey, you know what? I like Los because he does X, Y, Z. Okay. And that's really in the communication business. That's a major plus. You know,
What
because a
I
lot of
want
people don't
you,
answer your phone.
I want you to, because you talked about your business stuff. I want you now to go back a little more. Talk about when you got married. Talk about your kids, because now I think you about 30 something, 32. You said at the point
Yeah.
you're at. But let's go back, rewind. When did you get married? What was that struggle like as an entrepreneur and finding your way? Boy, I know that had to hit you when they told you turn the keys in and you got a family. And
Oh hell yeah, that was hard, man. I mean, the person that I love and is my rock is my wife, Patricia Symonds. I've not been the greatest of husbands, and I'm seeing it now as I got older. The one thing that we do as men is we don't understand and respect our wives as well as we should.
boy, hey,
And,
hey,
and
Curtis,
that's
man,
something.
you ain't. I was 30 years. I just messed up
Yeah,
me, but
right.
you
No, no,
love
it's
that
real.
you acknowledging that.
It's real, man. I mean, we got 43 years in, man, and I look at it every day, man. Uh, I could have been better. I should have been better because one of the things that you really got to look in the mirror, which now I have now looked in the mirror, I'm looking at it harder and harder every day. That she gave up everything for me. What did I give up for her? And I can't speak to it. I can't speak to it, Los.
Mm-hmm.
That's a terrible thing, man. When you look in the mirror and you see what your wife has given up as far as raising your kids, being there, make sure they get to the game, make sure they get to school, and I'm running around traveling, having fun, doing all this other, just calling on the phone, hey, how you doing? And she done had a terrible day.
Right.
And I'm not even dressed. Then I'm telling her, I'm sitting by the pool with a drink, enjoying the day, you know. And now that I've gotten older, man, it's really comes circle around because my kids are growing up. I got 3 kids. My oldest one, Demetrius, he's 43. My middle one is Carrington, who looks just like me. He's 39. And then my youngest one, Curtis Jr. is 34. And they've been there. Carrington works for me here at HBCUGo. Demetrius is a paralegal. He lives in Atlanta. And my youngest one, Curtis, lives here at the house with me. But, when I look at, you know, getting married at 84 with Pat and the strides, I mean, we were just talking the other day, man, never figuring out that both of us would be in where we are today. Where we are today. I mean, she's built a house for us. We've traveled the world. We've had experiences that people can't even, I mean, I've been to over my years over 50 Super Bowl games. I've been to over 38, NBA finals, all-star games, same numbers. Been to more parties with the BT Life and ESPN Life than I can
Let
even
me cut
speak
you
of.
off again. So you're talking about that. So when I used to stay in Laurel, Maryland, and
Mm-hmm.
Joe Tillman and some of our other classmates,
Go to, no question.
yeah. So I really didn't know what you was doing, and I was like, man, you seen that brother Curtis Simon, blah blah blah. They said, man, Curtis stay over in Virginia, something. He be having these big parties. They have the doorman, the people walking the cars, and Hollywood scene. I said, man, Curtis's number. They said, I don't have it, but so-and-so. By that time, I had moved out. But they told me that you had the spread and you was living larger than life and you was sharing the wealth and you was having these big functions. I don't know what they were. Maybe you can elaborate on some of that.
I mean, I was fortunate, man. We were just in a good circle, and I was involved with a lot of stuff. And Bob basically gave me the keys to the car, man, as far as being a big part of the network. And so I became a lot of the vision of the network. So that drew people, to want to do things with BT, which included me, and I was able to include the wife, and then we did. We have a lot of big time friends. We had friends, and
And
we threw parties.
they told me you had the red carpet out then. And I was like, man, Curtis done blew up like that. I remember him just coming to Kansas City. I thought he was coming just to get information on the players and what have you at the NAIA, but you had taken a big step.
No, I was fortunate, man. I mean, I like I say, Los, I've had a great run, man. I mean, I'm not upset with my career. I mean, I have stumbled on more things that have just, I mean, you look back, I left BT in '01. Okay. I left there, and then the biggest thing I wanted to do was build a gym complex. And I had some money from BT, and I went to the family and I said, listen, I want to build a gym, a dream gym. I want to put 7 courts in the gym. I want to build it from the ground up. Can we do it? What's the family feel about it? Family stamped it. Yeah, everybody said, let's do it. And it was on me. But at the same time, a hard lesson I learned was sometimes in life you bite off too much, but you don't see it. Other people see it, try to tell you, yo, man, slow down a little bit. You're moving too fast, and all I'm saying is, let's go. Okay. And so I built the gym in '05. And then Sheila Johnson comes around, offers me the opportunity to be the president of the WNBA Washington Mystics.
Right.
So I looked at that as a great opportunity. I said, I never ran a professional team. this is a way to get my foot in the door. I love sports, women's basketball. I saw it as an upcoming thing, which is now is taking over.
And
But I thought
tell the audience what year that was.
That was 05 to 07. And it was big then, but it just didn't have the Caitlin Clark big name behind it, other ones that they had. It was great basketball. Great basketball. Lisa Leslie was in there. A lot of great players. But it just didn't have the noise it's making now. And that, to me, I looked at it as a great opportunity for me. But once again, I got caught in my own web. And instead of saying to myself, let me see how this WNBA thing goes down, I was trying to run the gym and WNBA at the same time. And both the gym and WNBA were summer sports, because you do all your tournaments in the gym in the summer. The WNBA was running from May to September. So my day was always 6 in the morning to 7 in the evening in the Verizon Center, driving from the city out to Chantilly, Virginia, from 7 to 1 in the morning. I did that for 2 years straight, never giving a break, and put in long hours. And it beat me down. And then it was growing the business, because it was my dream, it was my thought, and I put all the weight on my wife, because she was trying to run the gym and she didn't have the network that I had to try to make things happen. So we started off very, very slow. We lost a lot of money coming out. And then I finally got the mojo going. But by the time I got the mojo going, the banks were on my back. So I couldn't recoup fast enough.
Before we even started this interview, and when I talked to you yesterday and what have you, I said I wanted you to talk about how hard it is to have access to capital as being a minority, because that what you had was before its time. See, now everybody's doing 6 courts and all of that. And that lack of capital, see, if that was hate to go white and black, but that's just how it is.
But that is the game. That is the game. I mean, that's, if like, to your point, when I lost my gym in 01, 011, I had 5 years into it. Everybody saw that gym. I mean, I got praise from anybody who walked in that gym. That gym was gorgeous. I kept that gym. For me and my wife, we kept that gym spick and span. It looked like every day. It looked like it was like the first day I opened it, with no dirt up in there. Court stayed clean.
You don't remember? You gave me access because I remember before you closed, you were trying to get the apparel shop together.
Right.
And this is. Man, I just get on 10 about this crap. That capital, if they stay with you 2-3 years, they getting paid big time and you're getting paid big time. Because that's
the problem you have with again, like I was just saying earlier in the piece, where when white America sees you doing something, they see the potential, but they don't want to give you that time to grow it. They in their mind is like, okay, he can't pay it, I'm gonna put him on the clock. So now he's gonna have a month or two to do. If not, we're taking this thing, and then we're gonna get somebody in, let them, we're gonna sell it a little higher, give them what they did, give them a foreclosure deal, and then let them run it the way we want to run it. And that's what basically happened.
Is the gym still open?
Yeah, it's still there. It's now called the Fairfax Fieldhouse. It's called CYA Fieldhouse. It's a community group who was in with me. See, everybody backdoored me. Because they knew, I had this same group that has it now, wanted me to sell them the gym and not let me run it. I said, why would I sell the gym to you and not want to run my own baby? I said, that's crazy. But they wanted me out of the picture for some reason.
No,
And
some reasons, if you just listen to your damn story, you
right.
you had every component to make the gym work. Plus,
All right,
you
no
were in
question.
the basketball arena where from high school, grade school, all the way up to the pros to lease the damn thing out. But you got to have time to put it all together.
I wish those, I wish one of the things I'm not good at, and I'm still not good at, is patience. If I want something, I'm going for it. And that's, you know, you, the only thing that I can give myself a little credit, I was patient for this HBCUGo channel. I was patient in my mind to say, I'm not going to let this go. This is going to be what I'm going to fight for to the end. To the end. But I wasn't patient with the gym. The real I should have, because when I began coaching high school basketball at Paul VI, my network in the community really blew up. And it was many people. Now I found out who had the money versus me calling on someone who didn't know me from Tom, Dick, and Harry, saying, well, who are you? Curtis who? And what do you need? I need like $2 million. $2 million? Oh, hell no. Bang. Versus now, if I would have waited in, and people saw what I was doing, people said, man, if I'd have known that was your gym, I mean, people told me about it, I would have forked the money out. I'm training kids now, pants loaded. Would have forked the money out. I got the money. And you running it? Oh, I'm confident now. I'd have gone 50-50 with you. But I wasn't patient. I wasn't patient, Los. Wasn't patient at all. But the thing that got me out of it, because you go in a semi-trauma when you lose something you dream about. But the thing that got me out of that was that, I'll never forget that. I got a book by Ted Turner. And I started reading the book. And one of the things he said in the book that woke me up, gave me my wake-up call, said, look, sometimes in life, you got to lose something to gain something. What you did wasn't wrong. It's just what timing was wrong. That's all. Timing was wrong. But that doesn't mean you stop and shut down totally because of that. And that was my friendly reminder, man, what I had. And then I said, you know what? I got to get my hustle on now. And then that's when I came up with the idea of creating this HBCUGo channel. I said, there's a need out here for this. Black colleges do not get the exposure of the Power Five. No one's doing it right. ESPN, they're just checking the box. So they're checking the box. They're not really worried about any black college sports. They're just being able to say, because they're a 25 sports channel, well, let me check the box that we do some of that. That's all.
They was checking the box. And WNBA, basically.
Yeah, they're checking the box. They're checking the box. So I was out there for 12 years, to your point earlier, doing presentations. And the thing that's sad is you go to black people who got money, knowing they got money, and they just boo-hoo you.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Like I asked you before you got online, I wanted you to be truthful in what you're talking about. I find that, and people want to act like you throwing black people under the bus because you telling your truth. It might not be their truth, but you are in position and you're trying to make some things happen that nobody else has done. And it seemed like some of the black people be worse than the white people. You can get more from some of the white people than you can get from black people that are supposed to be understanding block voting and group economics. And
well, because we have a tradition, I will put it. We have a tradition of not wanting to help each other. It's one reason why I went with Byron Allen. You know, when we finally were able to connect and make this thing happen, I said to him, I said, listen, here's why I want to come work with you. Because I want to show America that two black guys can make something happen.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm actually, look, you know, I don't have as many zeros by you, but we two black guys can make something happen. And this channel is special if you get behind me, okay? Because it has already building history with 107 historical black colleges out there. We just got to open up the doors. That's all. And that's what we're getting to do. But the world of capital is a hard game because we're not lack of ideas. We're lack of knowing the right people who want to open the doors for us. And you know, it takes in every situation, it takes something to happen to make the world change. You look at the George Floyd situation. Nobody gave a shit about Black America till that man went down. Then all of a sudden, companies came out and said, we're going to make a strategic effort to now respect and cherish the black man and woman better. So we're going to advertise, we're going to spend money here. That lasted about 7 months on the word. And then it went back to what it was before. It's hard. It's hard. Because you really can't, you know, it's like Byron has a line about Martin Luther King. He said, one of the things that in his conversation with Coretta Scott King is that what Martin wanted was one America. I don't think we can ever get to one America.
I know we can.
Right, because we can't get to one America between each other.
But I look at all of that because I've been in media and I know that you understand. The majority community has owned 100% of all forms of media, basically since the 7th century, when they started painting God white on the Sistine Chapel. And if you don't really know your history, you don't even realize that all information really to the 17th, 18th century was by word of mouth. And everything that you really learned was through the church. And I'm not talking about the black church. I'm talking about the Pope and them. And then right when the 18th century, 19th century, we still really wasn't reading and writing as black people, as the nation. You know, I remember when I'm in high school, when there were so many immigrants still coming, they had high school classes teaching immigrants how to speak English. This is in the 60s. And this was a whole different country. There was a lot of opportunity out here for you. But if you've grown up with the media, you're looking at TV, there's only a few channels, and you're looking at John Wayne, where the Indians are the villains, and the Europeans have always put themselves in from a visual and a psychological standpoint. They're doing something on Africa. Tarzan can talk to and all that has a price to pay without how we see ourselves.
Well, that's a very good point. I mean, you just said the ending words is the way how we see ourselves, and where do we want to take ourselves? That's a big piece of it.
The next thing, people be saying, Mr. Nelson, you all over the place, but it's all connected. The same thing that's going on with this puffy stuff, and a lot of the stuff is coming out. You have all these gatekeepers, but you got gatekeepers in sports. You see how Shannon Sharp, they threw him off the show, but this show is more popular than the guy he was with.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, you know, that's you know, TV is you know, if you once you get that viewership, you get recycled. You're not gonna be out that long. And Shannon wasn't out that long. You know, that's why he hooked up with Stephen A. now, and he's on First Take. You know, and he's doing a great job on that. You know, because like it or leave it, we like controversy. We like the controversy. And you can get, I mean, the reason why Stephen A is so good because he drives controversy, you know, and then he gives you the loud and shouting out and all that, you know, but that's something that won't change.
But
You know,
from
that's
my
just part of it.
perspective, like your company and my company, see, people look at the NBA and all of this stuff, the ESPN and what these people
Mhm.
are making. Think about what the people that are paying these people, the
Oh
salaries
yeah,
of the NBA. And you and myself want to be businessmen just like they are, just like the head of NBC
right,
and all of that. But if you have access to capital, you can get there. They
right,
they to me, they don't have ideas. They're
right.
incapable of creativity for the most part. They're really good at stealing other people's dreams and
That's
their
true.
creations and
That's true.
having the financial capabilities of bringing some things to fruition. And
I,
uh,
I agree.
so let's go on from you now had your gym and you're coaching high school and you were working with the NBA team.
NBA.
Uh, you were doing some things at our alma mater, trying to put some things together. And how difficult was that? And talk about the challenges because when we came out of college, they didn't have all these HBCUs games. The major game, me coming from New York, always was Grambling and
And
Morgan
Southern.
State at Yankee Stadium or
Oh
Southern
yeah,
or
yeah.
it was all they didn't have these different games in these different cities at that time.
Right.
Everybody would matriculate that weekend, and now they have these games and so forth.
Mhm.
How when you were trying to take our college, Central State, over to the Bahamas and do something, how difficult was that? And talk about some of the stumbling blocks and things that
Well, that was a that's another great experience, and that took place in 014, and that was really a partnership that grew from a friend turning me on to director of tourism with the Bahamas in here in DC.
mhm.
Okay, the director came in, we connected with him. He mentioned about he wanted to do a football game in the Bahamas. He said, Kurt, I hear you're the guy that can do it. I said, yeah, I can do it, but it's gonna cost X dollar. He said, well, we can afford it. Let's make it happen. So we put the pencil to papers, made things happen, went over there and talked to the director's people, and then the thing started changing. Because what happened was that we were talking $1 million. We get over across the water, they're talking $500,000. Well, $500,000 you try to bring in, and he wants to bring in a football team plus their band. That's almost 300 people that you're bringing in the door.
I already know
Almost like
my guy John Flemings did that at the Angel City Classic a couple of times. Had uh,
yeah,
and he that cost a ton of money. You can't have a
a lot of
million
money.
dollar budget and then they say a half a
No,
million and you gonna plug those holes. Those are
right,
not even holes.
right. So it was a major experience because you thought that the leadership of the Bahamas was really behind you when you ended up finding out they weren't, and they became your worst nightmare. I mean, I thought because, like, for example, I'm going into the Bahamas doing a deal. I
Yeah, they
get
got
to the
the band
stadium,
and they gonna be really appreciative and they gonna really
right,
make this happen so it can happen again.
right.
That's what's in
Nah,
my
man,
mind, probably.
right. Once again, back to our point that we already talked about. It's like here comes a guy coming in the Bahamas, don't know the Bahamas real well, and we're gonna stick it to it. My first blow up was with the stadium. I'm sitting down there talking to the guy running the stadium. which is part of the tourism. It's a track and field spot. I'm thinking, I'm gonna get the stadium for like $25,000. This guy come out talking about 150,000
or
out the
less.
gates.
Hey,
Right.
or less.
Right, 150,000. I said 150,000. I said if I move this game to RFK, I don't pay 150,000 for the stadium, and that's 70,000 there. Here I got 10,000 seat stadium. I got to bring everything in: goalposts, bleachers, benches rather for the teams. You don't have any of that because it's a track. I said I got to pay this additional cost plus pay you. No, so I argued with them to that until 2 weeks before the game. I couldn't sell tickets before 2 weeks before the game.
See, I didn't know all that. They told me something went wrong, and I know it's two sides to it might even be three.
Well, only thing everybody made noise about was that, and they had a good reason, was the fact that Central State's band and the team was stuck at the airport after the game that next morning, and not a ride home. My person who was supposed to book tickets, I had never seen nothing like this. She books one-way tickets. One-way tickets.
But that, as you said, at the beginning, this was a learning experience.
Right. Well, I told that's what really pissed me off with the Bahamas is that, we agreed it was going to take 3 years to build this thing. And because it went a little sideways, the game and everything, if you'd been in the game, you could have never told nothing. The game, it was a hard-fought game. Central State won the game, I think, by a couple points. And, it went well. The next morning, it was like a disaster. And everybody forgot how the game went. All the blame came to me.
Well,
and then all the stories were flying.
Boy, you know what that's about.
Right. And everybody was trying to, I had Roland Martin in the airport. About your school's team is the only one here. The other team went home. How you going to get these guys home? I don't know, Roland. We're working on it.
I'd have been saying, Roland, you got some extra cake, baby.
But it was I was happy with the success with it. And I never feel bad about what we did because I ended up getting a charter, got everybody home safe. Wasn't no bad. Problem I had was I was out of money. Luckily I had a ticket to get me and my wife and everybody home, but I was out of money.
I noticed that, I don't know how long ago it was, Central State honored you. I thought that was going to be a wreck on like a black mark, but since then I know Central State, and as you say, going back, looking over your career, when you came through Kansas City at UMKC and spoke, people start, as far as I'm concerned, start recognizing that you were a trendsetter and a groundbreaker. And, I didn't know what you were talking about when you were on this tour, but I know you were getting recognition. What was that about? Tell our audience.
That was a local guy from your area put together a nice little 2-day seminar on the media business and some other stuff. It had a good the panel I was on was with the new president of Ebony Magazine, and we just talked about black media and what the opportunities, the good and the bad, other businesses. And it was a good panel. It was a live panel. It was very good. The guy, I forgot the guy named Lumpkin. I think it was Phil Lumpkin. I think that was his name. That ran it, and he did a good job with it. He did a very good job with it. But I for one, go back to what I said earlier in this talk, was that I did not realize how far I was up the food chain until 2 years back when I got the Hall of Fame award for the broadcasting and cable industry. And that night, I got the award with Huda and Sarah that run Today Show, ESPN, the president of Cats Television, president of another group, another big television group, and a sister that was Big Will at Showtime. And I didn't realize just how big the award was, and to be put in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, which only has a few African Americans in it, after I did some checking, was an honor, you know. And they had people come up, you know. They saved me for last the night of the award, and you know, I think I killed it. But you know, I mean, I woke everybody up because it was like, you know, hey, this is how I feel. I'm gonna give you, since I'm last, I get a chance to really say what I want to say at the end of the day.
Have you mentored? How many people have you mentored or really taken under your wing in the last 25 years? If you can give.
Oh man, I can't even say the number. It's been so many. I mean, I would say
From a business standpoint, and then from an athletic. Those are two separate things, or they might
I
be.
think from a business standpoint, it probably would be over like 150 people. From an athletic standpoint, over the years, it's probably been about 300-400 people on that. Because I have been able to just, again, use that relationship model that I gave you earlier as a way to get people into a lot of different things. And I've helped a lot of people get jobs over the years. People
Open
used to tell me when
doors.
I was, yeah, with that, you know, I should have ran a job service. It made people I help get in the business. And it's amazing because I run into people in the weirdest spots now that tell me stories about stuff that I don't
You
even
don't
remember the
forgot.
stories. Right. Right. I mean, I'm on a call the other day with with UNCF, and the sister comes on, who's a VP now at UNCF here in Virginia. She said, "Curtis, I just want to tell you thank you." I'm like, "Thank you for what?" She said, "I don't think you remember this, but I went to George Washington University. I was one of your first interns." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah." She said, "I won't ever forget my internship with you." You know, she said, "What is that Deborah Lee came down about 2 weeks later and fired all the interns. So I definitely didn't forget all that, you know." So look, I said, "Oh wow." She said, I just remember you in the meeting one day, and you were just preaching about relationship, relationship, relationship. And it was like everybody got in the room. And you left the room, everybody was like, damn, this guy said he's in a zone, you know. But that's the weird thing about it, man, when you look at it, Los, you know, how many people you've helped over the years. You
Where do you
know,
see us going as not just where do you see Black media in general? I just was looking at some things on our kids per se in media. We the things that are coming out from a media standpoint, an education standpoint, and you have all these forces that are really trying to shut down public education
yeah.
and all of that. How do you have any feelings on Black where we stand with radio, television,
I mean,
and
I think
weekly papers?
we're still in a tough situation, man. I don't know if it's gotten any better. I mean, I don't personally, I don't think it has. You know, I
That's
mean, I'm
me
fighting
too.
now. I'm fighting now to get advertising for my Black College Sports Channel. You know,
They haven't.
and
You haven't been able to have them. It seemed like they
I
would
mean,
really come on board now
you
that
would think that. You would think that, but it hasn't really materialized yet the way that should. I mean, I should be in the 40 to $50 million to the good at the end of the day, but that's not where we are right now yet.
do you think that see from my network, I'm more like we have to organize, like I said, block voting and group economics, and then you have to
Right.
take that to the corporate community. So you don't want to. We want to see HBCU to go, and you don't want to support that. We ain't buying your product.
Well, you would think that, but again, that's the crazy thing about loyalty to us. You know, I don't know if you forget years ago. I don't know if you think you remember this when Nike had did something, And Jesse Jackson had called me and told me that he wanted to put something out to get all black people to boycott Nike shoes. I said, Jesse, that's ludicrous. I said, here's why. The minute Nike sniffs that you're thinking about doing anything boycotting, you know what they're gonna do? 50% off of any shoe you want to buy. And you don't think them black kids are not gonna run to the store to get that? You're fooling yourself. Because we have no loyalty.
But I've
They don't
already,
care.
let me tell you this. I've already understood that, not the way you did. When you look at any pictures of black people per se, in a suit,
Yeah.
whatever, you see how many people got them Jordans on?
All day long.
Monkey see, monkey do. And there's no return on that investment that comes directly to our community.
No, because Michael cut a brilliant, his mother cut a brilliant deal for him. The one thing that she made sure of, and she stamped in the movie Air, Brandon Jordan for life. Brandon Jordan for life. Whenever he retires, them shoes will still be made.
Yeah.
You got more retros out there than you can count.
And so the point I'm bringing is monkey see, monkey do, because I'm in this business. When our community, I'm not going to say the majority community, we think having a Gucci bag, spending $500 on something versus having $500 in our bank account.
Because we're a materialistic family.
Yeah, but we do that behind media. Media tells us these dreams that lead to a dead end.
That's very true. That's very, and we buy those dreams.
Well, when earlier before we got on the air, when I was talking to Sis, and I was saying go to our networks and look at this, because we're not going to our networks that are speaking in our voice and to our concerns. If you put junk in a computer, that's what you're going to get out. And if you put junk in your body, that's what you're not going to feel well. But if you receive good information that can help you make better decisions, that's major. And we don't have a lot of networks that we will go to directly to deal with that. What is your viewership per se on your HBCU? Has it grown? What's happening?
We've only been out there for 2 years,
right?
And our network is not rated as a network. I mean, what we've grown is more interstitial, where our social media has grown. So we get a lot more involvement in social media, on the network. We're getting a lot more branding through different things on the university across the board. So we've grown those two areas pretty strongly so far, but have a lot of work to do.
What do you know about the new rules that just came out the last couple of days about paying the athletes?
Well, I mean, the NCAA says finally, the athletes should be paid, and I think it's worthwhile. The NCAA has made a ton of money, especially off African American men.
And see, everybody has, whether it be music, whether it be sports, no matter what it is. I'm saying we just like the trough to come drink at.
Well, the slavery hasn't changed. You just took the chains off. That's all. Slavery hasn't changed. When you become a professional, you play for the owner. Owner pays you to play. He don't pay you to say I'm hurt. Pay you too much money.
I'm surprised, Jermaine Green. I'm surprised that guy's still in the league.
Yeah,
because he's been very vocal about a lot of the things we're talking about. Like, he must be real valuable for them to let him. You know more about that than me. I don't follow that. I don't follow.
It's something that I think it's a wake up call for these kids. I mean, the game. All they've done is legitimize what's been going on illegal for years, where the boosters and other people have been paying people under the table. Now it's legitimized. Now you can give a kid $100,000. I mean, look at what the WNBA is going through with the Aces in Vegas, where the city of Vegas wants to pay the players $100,000 apiece as a sponsor. Each player gets $100,000. Okay.
Well, that's major.
Now people are going nuts over it because they're saying, how can the city of Las Vegas pay the professional girls team $100,000? That's the city's choice. What are you worried about? But apparently, somebody making a big riff about it now.
Well, other people are gonna have to follow suit. That's
true.
Cities are gonna have to follow suit.
That's true. Well, Los, I'm gonna have to get out of here, man. I gotta jump and run, but it's been good, doctor. It's been good.
It's been excellent. I'm gonna have some of this interview up later on tonight. I'm gonna send you some links, and then I want to see how we can come together on some things. I got a campaign that we're pushing to our community, block voting and group economics, and see how we can do some things there. So
hit me up.
There's two things I want to say. I'm still my partner's closing. He always closes with, "It's a plum pleasing pleasure having you on the show." I'm like, watch, cut all of them niceties out. We snidely whiplash and we pin Sweet Nell to the train tracks. Dudley Do Right comes in, release her. But as I always close on sports with these two things. You people think Cascade Sports is soft? Nah, we go hard in the paint. And for you community people, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
This program is brought to you by the City of Fountains Coaches Association.